I used to look at my kids when they had a screen in their face and notice their glazed eyes, and they were like zombies of themselves, unresponsive to the outer world and just a shell of who I think they were meant to be. And I have this sinking feeling in my chest, like, what if they're not able to just start? What if they won't know how to fight through the struggle of boredom, or how to spark their own imagination, or create something that benefits others? What if they never know the satisfaction of thinking, I made that? Because honestly, that was one of my biggest fears as a parent, that I would raise these empty consumers and not the creators of culture. And then the guilt hits, because often the whole reason the screen's out in the first place is because I wanted 30 minutes of peace so I could cook dinner. But eventually I realized this isn't about screen time. This is about the kind of people we are creating. And so we started to make little changes bit by bit. And every time I noticed little growths in my children, in their creativity and in their imagination. In this video, I'm going to walk through the 3 stages every creator has to go through, and the 3 ways we can help at each stage to help our children with their mindset and their imagination and their initiative, so that we can raise kids who don't just passively consume, but actively create. You need a strategy in this area, or else modern culture will wash away your foundation as you're trying to build. It's like trying to build a dam, which is an amazing feat. Water is pouring down a river, and every stone that you put on there might get washed away unless you have a strategy. So what does this strategy look like? All right, let me illustrate it this way. Imagine you set your child down to an all-you-can-eat buffet of junk food. There's like chips and chocolate and sugary drinks and all the special things they love. And you tell them, you get to eat all you can, but you have 10 minutes. Go. Okay, they will not savor anything. It would be impossible. That's what modern media consumption is like. It is too much. It is too fast. Go gorge yourself. It's delicious. Now, alternatively, years ago, I went with a friend to a public garden, and it's pretty big. But we went to this one interesting section, had stone walls around it, little stone buildings in it. You could run around. And I said, well, do you want to go on to another area? And she said, I like to underwhelm my children. Now, she had learned something that I didn't know. You have to savor details slowly. It's the only way. There are 3 practical ways we've trained our children in this practice. In my mind's eye is burned a scene. There is a river and it is green. There's trees, leafy green trees on either side. And across the river, which is fairly large, there is a rock face. And on this rock face, it actually meets at the top with a hole that you can see right through. And on the top, there are trees actually growing across, which is incredible because it's a rock. You can see some light going through, but not much. Now, I have this scene burned into my mind because when we were there, we did something called scene painting. Doesn't require any paints. We said, okay, everybody stare at this scene and memorize it. And then we all turned around and we told what we saw. And it's actually just a moving picture that I have of this scene in my mind. It was beautiful. Kids can be trained to savor details. Years ago, my neighbor brought me an acorn, and he told me something is in this acorn. And I'm like, how do you know? He said, because I listened to it and I could hear it. And I'm thinking, who listens to an acorn? But his observation had been trained by doing object study. This comes straight from Charlotte Mason, who's a brilliant teacher on observing nature. You take an object, give it to a child, and then you walk through the 5 senses. What does it feel like? What does it smell like? I don't usually do what does it taste like? What does it sound like? And what do you see? And it trains them when they pick up an object, they naturally do the thing that helps them savor those details. And my neighbor was right. Okay, I took that acorn, left it on my dryer overnight, and the next day there was a hole in the acorn where a creature had come out. That's gross, I know. But upon further study, it was a weevil. I did not know even what they are. An adult insect will inject eggs into a seed, and while it's still young, the seed grows up looking whole, but there's secretly a weevil inside eating that nut. And it can be a big problem if you actually want to eat the nuts. I find nuts now that have a weevil or have the exit hole for a weevil all the time. And it's incredible. That deep connection, sensory connection with nature leads us to worship God. Because in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Now, the Bible is what really shows the intersection between our world and God Himself. And if you want a free training on how to read the Bible with your family, that is the most important parenting practice that James and I have. We have a link for a free training on that topic below. The third way to learn to savor details as the foundation for creativity is to record. The more you record wonders, the more you see wonders. And that probably means, as a parent, being a scribe. This can be lists, this can be drawings, this can be writing down the story your child is telling you, but record wonders helps you to see them. But savoring is just consuming slowly. It's not true creativity. There's another level that you must get to. And this is where I think the process fails most frequently because it requires parental involvement. Let me illustrate. This December, we had a bake-off, and we each picked a dessert to create for our guests, had votes, and found out who was the master baker. And I made an Andes cheesecake, and I didn't win, which is crazy. But I was trying to decorate my cake, and I'm not creative, okay, in cake decorating. You know why? Because I have no skills in cake decorating. All I was trying to do is a little wave of Cool Whip on the sides, and it was super stressful because my skills were the ceiling for my creativity. Now, my daughter Esther has devoted herself to growing in the skill of cake decorating, and she's much better than I am, and she's begun to be very creative because her ceiling is higher. So how do we raise the ceiling on creativity for our children? Okay, my best tip is to draw monsters. Come here, Eden. Don't you think kids should draw monsters? Why?
It's really fun.
Very nice. Thank you so much. Perfect answer. My kids did this for years. And the best thing about drawing monsters is it's so low stakes. I can draw a monster, okay? Anybody can draw a monster because guess what? If your monster looks weird, perfect. It's a monster. Now, alternatively, if you hand your kid a piece of paper and you say, will you please draw a birthday card for our neighbor? You're probably going to have tears. The second way of raising your ceiling, I really saw this year in Eden's progression in watercolor. So as the parent, I set the time, the place, and the supplies for her. So she had to watercolor 3 times a week. One was a scene she'd studied, one was a nature object, and one was like a special assignment. It usually was another nature object, like a berry or a flower. She had some leeway. She could decide to color whatever she studied, whatever most interested her. But I set those 3 things as the rule. Now, it was rough in the beginning. And so the third step was essential. And let me tell you about it in my own life. So one of the few places that I have actually gained some skill in creativity is in singing, and particularly in singing harmony. And I can track this back directly to my mom actually being there doing it with me. I remember very clearly sitting in the pew, back row at First Baptist Church, and us singing hymns at church. And she would sing alto. And I would follow along in a hymnal. I do not think I would have grown in my skills without my parent being there doing it with me. Same thing with my children. Anytime they are going to progress in their skills in the foundational level, they need me there. They need me there to be impervious, to be calm, to troubleshoot when things don't go as planned, to make suggestions. And I'm telling you, 10 minutes, just give your child 10 minutes to work on creative skills, and that foundation will be laid and they will progress on beyond you. I hope this helps you to take a deep breath, because this process of raising the ceiling on skills is essential and long. A long part of the creative process is not original ideas, it's copies so that your skills can grow. But copying is not creating. So how do you get your kids to that upper level of true creativity? Well, in my own story with singing, I really think I jumped up to a creative level of singing when I was watching The Voice. You have two people who actually do covers of songs. Copying a cover is not creative, but the coaches would teach them every run needs to have a meaning behind it. I started to realize that I could use my voice in a certain way that would bring meaning to the song. Because true creativity is in fresh variation. But how do we help our children to stop just copying and begin to have these original variations on their projects? Well, I saw this first when my mom came to visit, and my kids had been in the woods making a fort. And she was very interested in what they were doing, and she started to make suggestions. She sparked the idea. She said, "What if you do it this way?" And I'm telling you, for years, our kids were making better forts just from that one visit that she made into the woods. That spark really went somewhere. And you can do that for your kids too. Number 2, ask questions. With projects, you can ask, what would you like to change? Next time you do this, what do you want to do differently? And those questions are another spark to spur on someone thinking, oh, I could change. There are fresh ways of doing this. And number 3, just notice the variations. When you start to do this, you will realize you are much more creative than you think. And your children are too. And again, when you are calling attention to these variations in an affirming way, oh, I see that you changed this. That's very creative. Then it is empowering to a child to try new things, to do it a different way, and to experiment. I don't think of myself as a creative person, but I have a few pursuits, that I've gotten more into. Creating is incredible. I never really drew until a few years ago. And I'm telling you, my drawings to me feel like the golden calf of Aaron, where he's like, I don't know how it happened. I just threw in the gold and this calf came out. That's how I feel when I look at my drawings. They're not like that great, but I love to show them to people because I'm like, look, I actually did this. I don't even know how it happened. It's exciting to like grow in those skills and then to realize that you can make variations of things that have never been before. And honestly, that's how parenting is too. It's a creative work, and it is bizarre, to look at your kids and to think like, where did that come from? So you've seen the 3 phases of creativity and ways that you can help your child in each phase. Savor details, level up skills, and spark variation. This is a great work that we get to be a part of. The Bible says, that we are created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which He has planned beforehand so that we can walk in them. And it's an awesome good work that we get to do to help our children become creators and not just consumers.